the sits bones. Because even though it's a good balance exercise and it gets the ankle muscles firing, it's also just a good strategy for when you're sitting at your desk and saying, oh, my neck hurts. Maybe if I shift my weight, that'll help it out.
That's right. And I found myself kind of working my toes and rocking my feet and everything. And it helped. I mean, during the week, it did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I often find that a lot of physical therapists stay away from teaching balance. They don't really take it on because there's so many moving components, and the feet are often a big part that gets neglected. And it's such a simple exercise, like you can literally do it anytime.
Right. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yep, I'm going to give it another couple minutes and then we'll get started.
Okay.
So, today's class, we're still going to do a little bit of work with the feet, but today's class is actually going to focus on the hips as well. So
okay.
we're going to do some old stuff. We're going to do some new stuff. It should be a lot of fun.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Amanda, did you have anything else to add at this point? I've pinned the video, so in the recording, we should have a nice big host video now.
Right. Nope, looks good.
Excellent. Yeah, I did a lot of work with the camera, making sure that everything would stay in frame, so.
Nope, you look good, guys.
Yeah, I'm still gonna be like the random swimming head on the bottom of the screen, but that's okay. Okay, good, Jessica's laughing.
I got it too. I'm multitasking, responding to emails and working and school.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, so it is 3:04. I think we're gonna have a few more people jump in a couple of minutes, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started so that we can get through more material. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone at this point. So if you need to get my attention, there's a couple of ways. One option is to start video and wave at me. Another option is to use the raise your hand feature that should be under chat. And then another option is to send me a chat question. I'm looking at the computer so that I can see everything. And we'll go ahead and get started. And I better have my paper, otherwise I'm not going to remember what we're doing. Okay. So I think I've pretty much welcomed everyone at this point, but welcome back again to Balance and Posture. As everybody knows, we worked on the feet last time, and today we are actually going to move our focus up the balance chain to the hips. Actually hips, pelvis, and abdominal area. When you think about the human body, we actually have a very tall structure that's based on a fairly narrow platform. So the feet is where we started because that is really key in balance. That forms that platform for the body. And that's sort of our first place where we make our balance, is how well can our feet actually grab onto the earth. But that's not the only thing. Once we've grabbed onto the earth with our feet and we get that stability, how is it then that we translate that to the rest of the body? So the next joint that really makes a difference in how well we can balance when we're moving up from the feet is that hips and pelvic and abdominal area. So we're going to look into how is it that our body stacks itself. And from here, we're actually going to find ourselves with back against the wall. So Jessica, you're going to demonstrate hips to wall, back to wall. And then at this point, we have two options. If you want a very challenging option, you can bring the heels to wall from here. Jessica, I'm going to have you demonstrate a little bit more supported option, which is going to be walk the feet away from the wall. In fact, walk the feet away from the wall even more. So this way we've just got alignment of shoulders and hips. And Jessica, I'm going to have you bring your arms a little bit more forward so people can see your lower back position. So we can see from Jessica's demo that Jessica actually has a fair amount of space between her lower back and the wall. This is a good time right now to line yourself up against the wall, the same way Jessica is doing. And take your hands and put them behind your lower back and actually feel for how much space do you have back there. Do you have almost nothing? Do you have a little bit of space, or do you have a whole ton of space? So Jessica actually has quite a bit of space. Like even when we look at mid back and upper back, there's quite a lot of space in here. And I find actually for a lot of women, especially women that have dancing history, there tends to be, they tend to kind of sit in this very arched back position. On the other hand, we can get the opposite issue, which is that the back is totally flat. So Jessica, go ahead and flatten your back for me. Demonstrate that position. So we'll also get people that line themselves up against the wall and they have practically no space, and that's how they walk around. They don't have any curve in their back at all. Neither of those is ideal. We don't want too much curve in the back, and we don't want a totally flat back. We want basically a small curve. So Jessica, go ahead and demonstrate a small lower back curve. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'm gonna move into Jessica's space here. And at home, you can go ahead and take your fingers and put them on the front and the back of the hip. So Jessica, I'm actually gonna have you tuck your tail between your legs a little bit more. And we can see at this point, the part where we have the proper curve of the lower back is when the front hip crest and the back hip crest are even. So everybody at home, go ahead and put your fingers on your hips. Jessica, go ahead and demonstrate with that curved hand. So we can see Jessica's hand is also level. Her front finger and her thumb are the same level. So go ahead and play with your back position and feel when is it that your fingers start to rotate, back is higher than front or vice versa. And when is it that both of them are level? So Jessica, go ahead and demonstrate. We're gonna do 10 of those. So tucking the tip, yeah, arching the back. So we see space against the wall. And then go ahead and flatten the back, tuck the hips under, and repeat. So we're starting to get an idea of how the hip alignment affects the back, which is a really critical piece of balance. And we're also getting a really nice workout for the abdominal muscles. It's the deep abdominal muscles that prevent hip and back pain that actually control this rotation of the hips. Good. Keep going, you're not tired yet, right? All right, let's make this the last one. So now, we've just talked about the fact that the lower back wants to be in a small curve when we're walking around. That's the position where we can support our weight the best. And that also translates into a desk posture for sitting, is we want that small curve in the lower back. That's why a lot of times desk chairs actually end up with a support under the lower back, is to create that small curve of the back. However, for exercise purposes, sometimes we do go into flat back so that we can engage the abs even more deeply. So Jessica, you're gonna go ahead and flatten the back. And we're gonna keep that back flat on the wall. And now we're gonna go ahead and spread our hands. So palms to wall. I've also got the chair set up in front as a balance aid if it's needed. So if you need to quickly change that, go ahead and do that. So Jessica, go ahead and demonstrate flat back, but march the legs. So what we see is that Jessica's keeping her back totally straight and that her torso, her upper body, is not moving at all. So we know that her abs are really stabilizing that body. This can be very challenging. Most of the time when I have people do this in the clinic, it's tough. Keep going, you're doing great. There's a reason that Jessica got picked for this particular modeling job. She's doing a great job with these exercises. I'm sure you really are happy that you got that job too. Of course, she can't tell me otherwise since she's on camera right now. We'll see what happens once I shut the camera off. I might get an earful. All right, let's do one more each side there. Beautiful work, beautiful work. All right, so go ahead and relax for a second. That should feel like the hips are a little bit more warm now, and they're gonna be a little bit more prepared to do balance work. In this position, let's go ahead and revisit our footwork from last week. So I'm gonna go ahead and move the camera so that we get a better view of Jessica's feet. Perfect. So Jessica, go ahead and show us just some toe wiggles. Let's go ahead and do that at home too. We'll wiggle the toes, warm up the feet that way. Good. And then let's go into toe lifts. Yeah. So we see how Jessica is keeping her entire foot grounded on the pillowcase. It's just those toes that are lifting. So Jessica, can you lift those toes even a little bit more and see, especially if you can get those pinky toes up a little more. Yeah, and relax. So we should feel that even probably in the shin and the arches. Good. Keep going with that. All right. Now we're bored, so we're going to go into piano toes. So lift and spread and play the piano. So again, at home, there's the option for either single foot or double foot. Jessica's really talented at this, so she's doing double foot. But if you need to slow a little bit down at home and do just 1 foot at a time, that is okay. Ah, beautiful demo, thank you. Let's do 2 more. Good. And let's go into yoga toes. So this is the one where the big toe presses down and the 4 little toes press up. Good. And switch, little toes down, big toe up. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. Good. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. Good. All right, so those feet should be nice and warm also. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera back. All right. And I hope you really enjoyed the wall marches because we have set number 2 of wall marches. I want you to notice particularly this time, go ahead and flatten that back. And this time, wiggle those feet a little bit and grip the ground a little bit before you start to lift 1 foot off. I want you to notice if it makes that difference that we've now warmed up the feet. You may not notice a difference and that it's okay. And you may notice a difference that warming up those foot muscles and having that better sense of how to actually grab onto the ground, how that helps you transfer that weight up to those hips. Good. Keep going with that. That looks beautiful. Good. Let's do another 2 from each leg. So at home, if you're gripping onto the wall, see if you can give yourself another challenge. Try lifting your hands away from the wall. Yeah. Good. And if lifting the hands away from the wall even feels easy, try doing this with your eyes closed. And if you actually take that option, send me an email because I would be amazed. All right, go ahead and take a rest. At this point, the legs should be quiet and you're still lined up on the wall. I want you to just take a minute to let that feeling of the wall soak into your back, because we've now got a really good lineup of shoulders over hips, and we've got those abdominal muscles that should be working. So once you come off the wall, see if you can maintain that feeling of shoulders aligned over hips. So go ahead and come on off the wall for me, Jessica. Yeah. So now, let's see how good of a job we did. So here's shoulder, and here's hip. And we can see that these are pretty much perfectly lined up with each other, shoulder over hip. So that's why I really like working with the wall, is if we're in a position where we're walking around all day and we're leaning slightly forward, so you can see my hips are actually behind my shoulders, or if we're walking around in a back bend where my hips are in front of my shoulders, when we come up against the wall, that really straightens that out, and that can make a big difference as far as balance, posture, walking, name a daily activity that can help out. So at this point, we've been keeping our spine still long enough. Let's go ahead and revisit our sway from last week. This time we're going to do it in standing. So go ahead and lightly put your hands on the chair. And of course, sway is all about the ankle muscles, but the hips actually come into it as well, especially when we do it in standing. So go ahead and see how far you can sway forward, but don't put too much weight on your hands. And sway backwards. See how far you can go before you start to feel unsteady. Good. And forward. And try lifting up your hands. And backwards. So always, even though we're using the hands on the chair for balance, there should not be a lot of weight on those hands. Good. And let's do one more time forward and backwards. Good. And let's sway side to side. The same thing. How far within that foundation that's created by the feet can we move the hips, which are our center of gravity? Keep going, side to side. Try lifting up your hands. Yeah. Good. Good. So we can see we don't actually have a lot of motion. You know, our foundation of the feet, as we already said, is pretty small. So there's not a whole lot that we can move the stuff on top of it before we start to feel unsteady, which is why those hips have such a critical role. We want to have those hips squared over the feet. Because if the hips are too far in not good direction from the feet, then we're going to end up in a state basically of permanent unsteadiness. Go ahead and come on into center. And Jessica, I'm going to have you face the camera for this one. Let's do a couple of roll downs like we did last week. So starting with the head, go ahead and roll down one bone at a time. Upper back, mid back, lower back. And of course, if this doesn't feel good in your back, only go as far as you want to. Now go ahead and do tailbone, lower back, mid, and upper. Bone by bone, again, we're getting, by moving bone by bone like this, we get those deep spine muscles working, just like we did with the hip tilts on the wall. Let's go ahead and do that a couple more times. Head, upper back, mid back, lower back, tailbone. Good. And tuck the tailbone under, bone by bone through lower back, through mid back, and through upper back. And one last time because it feels good. Rolling down. Good. And up. So we're going to play with our hips some more now. On the wall, we already started to get the idea of how can we tilt our hips and how does that change the position of our back. We're going to actually start to do that away from the wall as well. So you have options for this next exercise. You can use your hands on the chair for balance or not as you need. And you can do this either in standing up straight or you can take a quarter squat position, which is a little bit more difficult. So Jessica's going to demonstrate this from a quarter squat position. Good. And Jessica, I'm going to have you go ahead and put your hands on the chair so you're demonstrating the balance as well. So from here, we're going to do our tail tuck between our legs, just like we did onto the wall. So this is what caused the back to flatten on the wall. And now see if you can stick the butt out. That's what causes the back to arch. Let's keep going with that. So again, this is a really good workout for those deep abdominal muscles. And we also start to get a sense of how much mobility do we have in our lower back. Where is it that our spine starts to land? Good. Let's do a couple more of these. These can be pretty challenging, so I don't want to overdo it. Good. And now let's take out our imaginary hula hoops and we're going to do hip circles. Now the Both the hip tilts and the hip circles are difficult to do without moving the upper chest, but that is the goal, is to keep the upper body still as the hips are moving. Good. And let's change directions. Good. And come into center. So now, Jessica, I'm going to have you give yourself a hug. You're not going to be able to put your hands on the chair for this one. So everybody, if you're having trouble balancing in the quarter squat, do this from standing. I'm going to have you keep your hip area still, but I want you to rotate the upper body. So sorry, Jessica, I gave you a bad cue. Let's do more rotation versus circles. Good, good. So we can see that Jessica is perfectly stable at her abs while rotating through the upper body. This is really good. This is also a preview for next week when we do upper body stuff. And relax. Good. And go ahead and straighten up. So all those muscles have already had some good work at this point. Now we're going to give them an even deeper challenge. So let's come forward and stand in front of the chair. So we're going to do stand to sit, sit to stand, but we're going to do it with a twist. The first twist is you cannot make any sound as you bring your butt down to the chair. The second twist is you need to take at least 5 seconds to do this. So go ahead. And if you need to put your hands on the chair as a guidance, you can do that. Yeah. So this is not so easy when we do this slowly. The next bit where we do sit to stand is going to happen in 2 phases. It's very difficult to try and actually lift the butt up off the chair when we do it slowly. So we're going to lift the butt up off the chair at any speed. However, once the butt is up, let's see if we can actually come to straight standing just as slowly. So go ahead and lift the butt up any speed. And now squeeze the butt, push it forward, and come to standing. So this kind of reminds us of our butt squeezes from last week. Let's go ahead and do 5 more of these. So we're going to do sit slowly. And again, if you need to put one hand on the chair to guide yourself, you can. Good. And go ahead and stand. Butt comes up any speed, but then we squeeze and come forward slowly. Good. And we've got 3 more left. Good. So of course I picked this one because this is the balance-friendly version of doing a squat. All right, we are down to our last repetition. If somebody wants an additional challenge, you can try doing this on one leg. Yeah, so Jessica's got her toe down, and that is also an okay option. You can put all the weight on one leg and use the other toe for balance. Good, and up. And you know what, since we did single leg on the left, we have to do one more to even it out on the right. Yeah, good work, good work. All right, and come on back to standing. All right. We actually have a little bit of extra time at the end, so I am very happy about that. I did not think we were going to get to the next thing. So we're going to come back around behind the chair. And Jessica, I'm actually going to move the chair so that you have a little bit more room to work. Actually, I'm going to move the chair in a second. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of options. So option 1, go ahead and put your hands on the chair. Option 1 is hands on the chair, stand on one leg. Option 2 is standing on one leg, lift up the hands. If this is still too easy, go ahead and close the eyes. So go ahead and relax for me, Jessica. So you are going to pick your option. Whatever option you pick, we want to be able to do it for 1 full minute. So go ahead and choose your option. Hands on the chair, hands off the chair, or hands off, eyes closed. Good. And we're going to start. Good. You're a third of the way there. So you've got 20 more seconds to go. If you feel like you've still got more gas left in the tank, then go ahead and see if you can try a slightly harder option than the one you picked for the last 20 seconds. Actually, it's the last 10 seconds at this point. Good, and relax. So go ahead and shake it out, do whatever you need to do whatever feels good at this point. We have one more side left, and that'll bring us to the end of class. So whatever side was not the standing leg, go ahead and shift your weight onto that. Pick your option, which is hands on the chair, hands off the chair, or eyes closed, and go. Good, we got 20 seconds, so we've got 40 seconds to go. So can you choose a slightly harder option for the last 20 seconds? And go ahead and relax. Great job, everyone. So this brings us up to the end of class. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes to answer questions again. So I'll unmute everybody in a second. And thanks so much for joining us.